Before we begin, where are you watching this from? Let's map the shadows.
Echo through Eternity Part 3. Mark walked determinedly and purposefully along the forest paths. He knew where he was going and what needed to be done. Spring had turned the branches green. The air was fresh and carried the scent of a new beginning. He reached the circle. The snow was gone, but the outlines were still visible in the soil, as if the earth refused to forget. He stood in the center and closed his eyes for a moment. Then he began to destroy it. With his boot, he tore through the symbols, smudged the lines, scooped up soil, and threw it over the remains of the marks. There was no rage, only an ending. A cold presence thickened behind him.
"You're very late,"
he said calmly, without turning around.
I didn't expect to see you again.
Sibylla replied. Her voice was quiet but sharp.
I hoped you had understood your place.
He turned.
"I did."
Her eyes flashed.
You understand nothing, but don't forget, the trees have eyes and they remember. They don't ask if you're ready. They take.
"I actually came to say goodbye. We won't see each other again."
The girl laughed.
The choice was never yours.
It was, and it always has been. I just kept delaying it until now.
Silence.
I came to break the bond. You won't feed on me anymore, neither you nor the shadows.
What you are facing existed when stars were still dust drifting in infinity. Your life is a moment in eternity. Your ego refuses to accept the inevitable.
For the first time, something different flickered in her gaze. Not fear, but tension.
This is our last meeting. You need me. I don't need you or the forest shadows. It ends here and now.
Sibylla whispered something in a language that did not belong to this world. The sky darkened. Day turned into night. The circle ignited. Fire engulfed him. Flames rose high, bending the air, closing in from all sides. Shadows stirred, hundreds, then thousands. They circled him, dense and hungry, crashing like insects against glass. The stranger did not move. He closed his eyes and breathed slowly. The fear that once fed them had become a memory. Black silhouettes clawed, searching for a crack, a thought, a doubt. They found none. Their growling sounded like a starving predator threatening its prey. Larissa's words surfaced in his mind.
Fear is your only enemy. They feed on it. Stop feeding them, and they will disappear.
You will burn!
Sibylla screamed.
This is your end!
Heat reached his skin. Pain became an external idea, an illusion that did not belong to him.
Breathe, control. Don't give them fear. They are strong only if you allow it.
He inhaled slowly, consciously, exhaled every worry, every dark doubt. Each pulse of the dark presence outside him retreated. The shadows sensed the absence of fear. Their twisted limbs, hungry for panic, began to dissolve. Instead of pushing them away, he observed them, not as enemies, but as reflections of his own weaknesses. Each shadow form tried to root itself in his mind, but found only emptiness. There was no fear there, only focus, memory, and will. The egregor, vast and sinister, appeared behind the black silhouettes, trying to penetrate his mind. Black smoke seeped in, carrying heaviness, cold, and a foreign will. Mark felt its intrusion, but did not fear it. Instead of fleeing or fighting physically, he focused on his inner light, memories, goals, dreams, Larissa. Each image became a shield. He breathed slowly, calmly, as if every exhale stripped away part of the egregor's strength. The shadows tried to overwhelm him, but for the first time they met an unmoving consciousness, impenetrable. They struck and tore at imaginary walls, while Mark simply waited, watching. And with every second, their predatory hunger weakened.
They are nothing without your fear.
Larissa's words, whispered quietly. Gradually the beings lost form. The black smoke of the egregor thickened, and for a moment seemed stronger. But Mark simply allowed his consciousness to remain stable. Every fragment of their dark force returned to the space where it could no longer reach him. The creature lunged, the man's breath cut off. He felt it piercing his lungs. Black smoke above him seeped through his nostrils, but he saw the entire world turn into a room, isolated, empty, without time or air. The shadows and the egregor were locked inside, confined within the walls of his psyche. The fire began to die. Flames bent as if obeying his thoughts. In that moment, he realized they could not harm him, but he could harm them. The walls began to close in, pressing, suffocating. There was no exit. The beings thickened, screamed, tried to escape. But Mark watched them calmly, without fear, without panic. Every strike of their dark energy returned into empty space. The egregor twisted, dark and grotesque, but the hermit's stillness weakened it. Finally, they collapsed within the limits of the room, motionless, helpless. Mark opened his eyes. The circle still lay drawn in the soil, but it no longer held power over him. Not even ash remained from the fire. His gaze fell on Sibylla. She stood a few steps away, breathing heavily. For the first time, there was no superiority in her eyes, only strained helplessness. He straightened and walked closer.
It's time for you to leave.
His voice was quiet, but unwavering.
Do you really believe you've won? Look at the symbols. Nothing has changed.
I have changed.
The girl lowered her gaze to the figures, as if searching for salvation.
You made a huge mistake getting involved with me. You can do nothing to me.
I can, as long as you are in my consciousness.
The world shifted. In the next moment, Sibylla was tied to a dry tree. A cold wind scattered her black hair. At her feet lay stacked wooden sticks. Mark stood before her holding a lit torch.
You like fire.
He said, quietly.
Let me return the favor.
Don't do it.
Her voice cracked.
It will achieve nothing.
He looked at her for a long time, not with hatred, not with rage, but with resolve.
I will achieve silence.
The torch touched the wood.
No!
The witch screamed in fear.
Goodbye.
The flame spread instantly. Fire engulfed her body. The circle stood beside her, but powerless, stripped of meaning. Sibylla's screams filled the air. She cursed him, begged, threatened. Her words turned into distant noise. Mark turned and walked away. He did not quicken his pace. When her voice faded, the forest became unnaturally quiet. Where she had stood, only dust remained. The wind scattered it, and nothing more. He returned to his home, took out a bottle of wine and drank slowly. set the glass down with a soft tap, and looked out the window. He seemed to be waiting for someone. As night fell, his body trembled with anticipation. A strange feeling told him something important was about to happen. Excitement and tension mixed in his chest. From time to time, he sipped the wine, but his gaze never left the door. And then he saw her. A figure appeared out of nowhere in front of the house. Nami. She stepped toward the door and rang the bell. He opened almost immediately.
I was expecting you.
She walked in sharply, pushing him aside.
I can't believe you were pretending all this time!
Pain, mixed with anger, filled her voice.
On the contrary,
He replied calmly.
today I am more honest than ever.
I thought you wanted us to be together. You never appreciated my help or what I did for you. I offered you eternity, and you still hesitate.
I am not hesitating. I refused you. I will not perform the ritual.
Nami looked him straight in the eyes. Despite her expression, there was something magical in them that affected him strongly. But this time he was prepared.
I understand.
She said quietly.
I assumed you were just another one, using me.
Did you really believe we would be together in eternity?
We could be. You have no idea how much time I've spent in solitude. I've never met a man like you. You love the forest almost as much as I do. You want to be a choice, not convenience. You know your worth. That's what drew me to you.
She moved closer and slid her hand across his chest. He felt his body tremble. She whispered into his ear.
I've never desired anyone like this.
She took his hand and led him toward the bedroom. He followed her, hypnotized, blinded by her presence. Nami lay on the bed and called him with her gaze to stand above her. Mark leaned in slowly. Their lips touched, first lightly, then deeper. He felt the soft scent of her skin surrounding him like mist. Her hands moved across his back, unhurried. She controlled the pace, guiding him without him realizing.
Calm.
She whispered, almost against his lips.
You don't need to fight.
Her voice was soft, but something in it blurred the edges of his thoughts. He ran his hands over her body, feeling her smooth skin. The air in the room grew heavier. A moan echoed, distant and unclear, as if coming not only from her but from the space itself. His heart began to race. Her gaze lingered in his for too long. Something ancient flickered in her eyes, almost imperceptible.
You've already decided.
She whispered.
You just haven't admitted it yet.
His thoughts began to unravel, desire mixed with confusion. For a moment, he thought he could hear the forest outside, feel the ritual, sense the thin boundary between worlds like a breath. She rose slightly toward him, closing the distance. She did not pull him, did not force him. She let him come closer on his own, and that was what shook him the most. His breathing quickened, control slipped away, and she only smiled, as if she already knew the end of the night. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, a church bell rang, rhythmic, clear, cutting through everything. The world froze. Mark blinked. In the next moment, his mind cleared. He had no memory of how he got here. He looked at Nami.
I'm completely certain now.
He shouted.
You enchanted me!
I don't understand.
You understand more than you admit. I broke your possession. The game is over.
Mark, calm down.
He stood up.
The ritual you wanted me to perform wasn't for eternal life, was it?
Do you hear yourself? You've lost your mind.
You wanted my soul. The body isn't enough. You want to feed on my desire forever.
Nami frowned. She felt her influence weakening.
That's not true. The ritual would have granted you eternal life. We would have been together. I wanted you to do it because I am immortal and you are not. And one day I would lose you, and then I would suffer deeply. Why settle for a moment when we could have infinity?
She grabbed his hand, but its warmth was gone.
I don't want to be with you.
Mark pulled away.
I want to be with Larissa.
The seductress's face darkened, but she did not give up.
Larissa doesn't appreciate what you offer. She won't fill the emptiness in your heart. I am very sorry for your choice, but you are condemning yourself to pain.
She turned toward the door.
Where are you going?
Goodbye, Mark.
Wait!
She stopped, smiled briefly, slyly.
The book you gave me is not the same one I found at your place, is it? Sibylla destroyed it so I wouldn't learn the truth. She thought that would stop me.
Mark stepped forward.
If you are so sure, why are you asking me?
I don't know why I ever thought you would be honest with me. I don't understand what makes you think you are superior to Larissa when every word of yours is a poisonous lie.
His voice was calm, but firm.
You never told me what you are, but there is no truth behind your words. Creatures like you always speak beautifully, but empty. You have no heart, no warmth. What I experienced with you is nothing more than an illusion. You are jealous of my bond with Larissa because it is love, an emotion you cannot possess.
Why do you think I seek love?
Her voice sharpened.
Love is more valuable than what you are looking for. That's why you cannot buy it or steal it, and it is precisely your downfall.
Why are you speaking like this? I was there when you were weak. Where was Larissa? Whatever she told you about me is not true. She chose the city over you, and when she saw you moved on, she decided to come back. Deep down, you know I am right. When you realize it, it will be too late. I won't be here anymore.
Mark did not answer immediately. He reached into his pocket and took out a small, elegant box, opened it. Inside, a ring shone.
I am going to marry Larissa.
Silence thickened between them.
What?
Nami's voice broke. He stepped closer.
You cannot tell me who to be because I am not what you see.
A moment of silence. Her eyes locked onto the ring.
You won't be missed.
She reached out and touched the ring against Nami. Pain cut through the silence. Her skin began to harden, cracking like stone. Her body twisted, lost form and weight. In a second, she collapsed, fell apart into countless pieces. No blood, no flesh, only dust. Mark inhaled deeply. When he exhaled, nothing of her remained. He woke up refreshed, rested. The heaviness was gone. Morning light slid across his face, warm and calm, as if there had never been nights tearing him apart from within. The coffee machine ground the beans with a steady hum. He stood beside it, lost in thought, far away. He didn't notice when the cup filled. Another battle lay ahead. He took the warm cup and went out into the yard, sat on the pleasant chairs by the small table. His gaze drifted across the hill. Flowers had exploded into bloom. The wind carried their scent softly, almost unreal. Trees were alive. The world was breathing. Nature had awakened from a long sleep. In moments like this, he remembered why he chose this place. It was his, and this time he would not run. He waited for night. The television hummed quietly in the living room. Its light flickered across the walls, dissolving the shadows. Mark sat motionless. He sipped water. His gaze stayed distant, not following the screen. Something moved at the edge of his vision. He turned his head, but nothing was there. A presence lingered behind him. Another glance, still nothing. Then it returned, closer this time. Instead of turning again, he slowly lifted the mirror beside him. It was there, a large black figure with grotesque twisted extensions sitting on his shoulders. Its tendrils pierced his ears and eyes, sliding inward, deep into consciousness, and it began. Memories. First, love, a pet, parents, grandparents, Larissa. Their faces faded, emotions hollowing out, as if they had never existed. He didn't move, inhaled, exhaled deeply. Again, focused not on them, but on himself. Who he was, what he wanted. Larissa's voice slipped in softly, whispering inside his mind.
Don't forget who you are.
Forgetfulness lurked deeper and deeper, slowly consuming memory. His eyes narrowed. He saw the house of his dreams, beautiful, welcoming, the forest, silence, freedom, air fresh, and the scent of flowers brushed his senses gently. Then everything began to collapse. From the darkness, a vast black monstrous being crawled out. It swallowed everything in its path. The hill, the memories. Everything sank into darkness. It reached him. Its tendrils wrapped around his shoulders. It began draining the very image of Mark. His face faded. The creature stood before him, ready to devour him into the abyss of oblivion. Its tendrils wrapped around his shoulders and began sucking away his face. The memory of his own image grew faint. Everything became paler, more unreal.
Stop!
He shouted.
You have no right!
The creature did not answer.
You are empty, Hollow. You have nothing of your own. That's why you steal.
Mark grabbed it and tore it away from himself. It trembled.
These are my moments, my pain, my life. They do not belong to you.
For a moment, the creature paused. It was losing influence. He closed his eyes, and instead of running, he sank into it. Memories from the distant past, when he first felt loneliness in the city, alienation, the hostility in people's eyes, their indifference, lack of dreams, everyone trapped in their own world where there was no place for him. He felt the rage every time he had to fight for the smallest things, traffic, noise, crowds of angry, frowning people closing in, pressing him into a corner. He wanted to scream, push them away, but there was no air, running breathless through overcrowded sidewalks. He felt people pass straight through him, striking his lungs, suffocating him. He collapsed onto the asphalt. Everyone stepped over him, trampling him. He screamed, but no one heard, no one cared. He woke in bed, alone, drenched in fear. All of it was his. The belief that escapes would make it disappear had been an illusion. They had found him. There was no escape. And for the first time, he didn't try.
This is me.
His voice was quiet, but steady.
And I will be a stranger in my own body anyway. Strong is not the one who is calm in silence, but the one who remains calm in chaos.
The darkness cracked. Light returned. The house, the forest, the flowers reappeared like a distant dream, wrapped in sacred light, a story without end, like a promised paradise. Mark reached out, and the brilliance of nature unfolded before him. In the next moment, he was lying in green grass by a lake. The water was clear, fresh. A glance at the surface revealed his reflection, whole, The sun rose boldly behind the hill. Butterflies drifted from flower to flower, each more vibrant than the last. Silence, peace. A deep breath filled his lungs with crisp mountain air. Never had life felt so vivid. The boundary between self and world began to dissolve. Grass swayed beneath him. The wind moved gently through his being. Soon, there was only motion drifting freely across the sky. Seeing trees, flowering bushes, rabbits moving swiftly through the field. Then came stillness again, as if becoming the water itself, pure, reflective, simply existing. Understanding followed. This was his essence, not because of escape, but because of choice. The dark creature shrank, smaller, even smaller, until finally, it disappeared. Mark opened his eyes. He sat on the sofa, breathing heavily. Alone. It was over. The weight was gone. Days passed unnoticed. The sun grew warmer, the home more cozy and alive. One warm summer night, Mark and Larissa sat in the yard. They held glasses of homemade lemonade. The ring reflected moonlight, making it seem even more magical. She smiled and laughed for real. Mark spoke vividly, gesturing, fully present for the first time in a long while. It seemed they had reclaimed a past neither wanted to lose.
I'm glad you discovered the truth about yourself.
The woman said happily.
I couldn't have done it without your help.
He replied warmly, taking her hand. She looked at him carefully.
You know they haven't disappeared. They're just no longer inside you. The symbols are still there, but they have no power. You achieved a lot, and I'm proud of you.
Mark chuckled softly.
I honestly didn't expect you to believe me. I thought you would never go to their village.
I didn't expect it either. I was lucky to meet that kind old woman who explained enough.
Her gaze turned thoughtful.
I should have understood earlier when you left the city. I didn't think you were trying to escape. I thought you were just running.
I thought so too, until I realized there is nowhere to run from yourself.
Larissa took a sip from her glass, licked her lips, and looked thoughtfully at the stars.
The very thought of Nami is enough for her to appear again. She lives there.
She touched her temple.
Where you allow her to.
I won't allow her anything.
He replied without hesitation. The sound of crickets broke the silence. There was something truly calming in this moment. Whether it was the magic of the forest or the beauty of the night, Suwin, no one could say.
I'll go get a new bottle.
He went down to the basement. Cold, quiet, rows of bottles, neatly arranged. Patient, he scanned them and grabbed one, lifted it toward the light. In that moment, something moved quickly, almost imperceptibly. He noticed a dark silhouette. Mark froze. The air changed. A light, familiar scent crept around him. Perfume, gentle and far too familiar.
True battles don't end. They simply stop being visible. How do you interpret the ending? We'll see in the next story.